Hi guys. Okay, so let's talk about conscious manifestation and how I have managed to living on the street, moving into a new place, and still staying at that place, and also becoming more financially abundant as the breach of incidents unfolded, while at the very beginning of my story, everything went to fucking shit first. So the purpose of this video is to tell you guys that circumstances and conditions does not matter. No matter how it is in your face or even how you feel about it, everything is working out perfectly as it should as soon as you shift your identity and becoming aware what you were currently thinking and what you currently want to experience and what state of being to relation to the new story that you occupying. So, and also, I'm not going to gatekeep anything from you guys. I want you to learn from my mistakes. And I know there is this thing about don't talk about your circumstances and conditions because you can re-manifest or reaffirm that you experienced a similar situation. And I want to let you know that yes, if you're in a state of consciousness or being that identifying with that old story, then yes, you can remanifest that. But for me, that is not my story. And the reason why I want to share it with you guys is to help you understand. And if you are in the same circumstance or condition currently in this moment, that I want to let you know that you can rest assured that anything and everything is possible, and that your breach of incidents and your circumstances and conditions can unfold as soon as you identify the version of you that is already being that, and identifying the version of you that is abundantly. Now, to tell you guys also is that I feel like that there is a misconception in the community that coaches out there does not experience anything undesirable. But that's not the truth. It doesn't mean that they are a manifestation, the law of assumption, law of attraction, or law of the being, or the I amness, consciousness creator out there helping millions of people, that they did not experience horrible circumstances and conditions. That is why they are doing what they are doing, is to help you, because they have done it, and if they could, you could as well. So my story is to give you a little bit of a background about my circumstances and conditions so that you can get a little bit of a more broad spectrum or idea of what I was experiencing in that time when everything was unfolding and went to shit, and my whole reality almost felt like it was on fire. So I was married and we were busy in the process of getting divorced, and we were still staying together because we have two kids, me and my ex-husband, and we want to co-parent and assist each other with the children. So we still lived in the same house to help each other with the kids, and also with the idea when we can, so that we can move away from each other and go our own separate ways when we were both in a place to do so. So my circumstances and conditions, it's kind of like what people call that I went through a purge so that I can move, because I was comfortable and stabilized in the circumstances conditions I were currently at. However, I have had my consciousness and my desire towards an end goal that I wanted to experience. So we all know that when you are aware of your end goal that you would like to experience, there's a bridge of incidents that is going to happen to bring you towards your end goal. So I it was last year, in the beginning of the year, my finances started to show up undesirable, and there was some debit orders that went off from my account that caused me not to make my rent payment in time, and my landlord gave me a month notice, a termination letter and notice to move out of the place. And as everything happened, while everything was happening with the rent and all of that, because what happened is I made payments, but I paid not in a timely manner because of the funds that was deducted from my account. I needed to move around a lot of finances so I could be able to make the payment. So I made a payment, but I couldn't make the payment in a timely manner, so therefore I've got a termination letter to move out. As everything was unfolding while this was happening, my relationship with my ex-husband escalated, and it started to become very toxic, and we fight a lot, and there was a lot of arguments, and we started to become estranged with each other as well. So it was very, very toxic. And so that was part of the breach of incidents, because I didn't want to move. So the universe, God, my reality shifted into a desired states or a breach of incidents for me to be able to realize that it's time to move. So I got termination letter and I needed to move out. However, I could not find a place to stay at in the price range that I was searching for, and every place that I searched for, it failed, and I just couldn't get a place to stay at the moment. My ex-husband's parents agreed to make the payment for the rent with the agreement that I need to move out, and as long as I don't live with them in the house, they will assist with the rent payment. But 2 weeks before I needed to move away or moved out, I still haven't received any possible places to stay at. Just keep in mind, I was spiraling and my emotions was all over the place. I was very stressed. My thoughts and everything was not necessarily in line with what I was trying to experience or get myself out of the whole situation. However, I still persisted doing my techniques, and remember, the techniques alone does not manifest your identity. And because I had the fear of living on the street and have no place to go, that almost became my reality because I had identified with that fear. So my ex-husband's parents agreed to make the payment for the rent, and it was 2 weeks before I needed to move out, and I still haven't a place to live at. They were very kind and agreed that I could stay another month and that they would take over the whole contract for the rent, and that they can give me another month so I could search for a place and move out. However, as the month approached and everything, I was under the impression that my ex-husband is going to take over the lease agreement to the place that where we currently stayed at. Ended up that the landlord decided to give the property to a managing agent, a rent agent, and that we should have basically approached the whole process of renting the place by do the whole new contract and everything. And my ex in-laws, or my ex-husband's parents, decided not to do so. So he didn't tell me that he needed to move away as well. So before the end of the month approached, 8:30, 7:30 that night on the Sunday, he asked me or told me that he also need to move away this upcoming weekend, and he didn't even pack as yet. So I started to help him pack his stuff, and we searched for storage units so that we can put all of our stuff into storage. And that is exactly what we did. We moved that next week, that Saturday. And keep in mind, my kids were still supposed to fly to my parents for the holiday. So everything was just going up to flames because he got a new job in a different town, meaning they're going to move away, but he still needs to work his calendar time for the company that he was working for. And he was sorted. He actually were booked into a B&B. His parents actually paid for him, and I had nowhere to go. I was supposed to move into with my colleague at that time. I was supposed to move in with her on that Sunday, and that Sunday morning, after we dropped the kids at the airport, she informed me that her situation and circumstances changed, so she need to move away as well. So that ended up that I have nowhere to stay. I had no place to go. I hadn't, and all of the people that I've asked either or were not in the position to assist me or help me, or they just didn't want to help me at all. And that's fine. It's not their fault. Remember, they are only a reflection of me. Everyone is us pushed out. So they were just reflecting my fear and my insecurities and my triggers. And they just exactly showed me where my awareness were currently at, and that is that I am not chosen, I'm not a priority, nothing is working out for me, because that is the version of me that I was identifying. As everything was still unfolding, the breach of incidents are happening, and I still actually done the work by affirming and doing the things that I know I need to do to shift my awareness. Remember, the techniques alone does not manifest you to get what you want, but it make you aware and remind you of your identity, who you are. And so I've still done the work by affirming and trying to shift my identity in my mind the best way possible, while I was still facing undesired situation and circumstances. So while everything was unfolding and was very undesired and everything went to shit, I slept in the car for 3 nights, and I was scared as fuck, I must admit. It is not something that I would wish upon anyone to experience, not even for my enemy. Anyway, so I slept in the car for 3 days, and then when I got to a place where I was so rock bottom, I couldn't even care anymore if I was in this circumstance or conditions. I just knew that somehow, some way, that everything is going to unfold perfectly, and that something must happen for me to open the doors or the gateway for what I need to, you know, get into the breach of incidents and to the place where I want to be, get at my desired end. And so, and keep in mind, this was actually in the middle of the winter. So it was actually very cold as well. And it's dangerous. No matter where you are in the world, it is very dangerous to live in a car, woman alone. And it is not safe, but I had faith. I trust and believe that nothing would happen to me and that this is just a part of my breach of incidents unfolding. That is what I keep on telling myself, even though I have no proof or movement or any signs or anything that is showing me that I am going to get the end of my desire. My patience and my faith and the knowing in the end was so dire. I think if anyone else was in my situation, they would probably gave up and say this is the end. However, if it happened that I needed to stay on the street, I would probably left my job and moved back to my parents, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to leave my kids behind because they would stay very far away from me, and I didn't want that. And also I would like my freedom to do and go and be my own version and my own person without, living in another person's roof. Like, for example, my parents, love them to bits, but the reality of the fact is I'm a grown woman and I would like to have my own space and my own place and my own identity or stability and all of that. So everything fell apart. So 3 days passed. I slept in the car, and then I got this, whatever you want to call it, intuition to contact one of my daughter's parents and ask them if there is a possibility that they know someone or if they can help me. I would be willing to make a payment until I can just get a place to rent and to stay at. So it happened, they were very kind to help me and give me a place to live at. They opened their guest room for me, and they were very kind to let me stay here without making any payments, and they treated me as a guest, but with the attention that I need to get a place very soon, and it is only for temporary until I can find a place. But they gave me a month, and I agreed and said that is reasonable and that I would probably be able to get a place by then. I must admit, my breach of incidents was very, very undesired. I had a lot of shit happened. For example, I was actually scammed almost twice. The second time I was scammed out of a rent and a deposit because of desperation and stupidity, because I tried to force the breach of incidents and I was trying to force the 3D circumstances conditions, and I did not trust and allowed the breach of incidents unfolding how it should. A week before I needed to move out of this family's house, I still hadn't had a place to stay at all, and I hadn't had a deposit or rent to do so. So what happened is, the week before I needed to move away, that Monday, I just got to a conclusion and decided that I am not a priority, and therefore I need to prioritize myself, my well-being, and my state of mind, so that I can get into a place of naturalness and a state of being. And what I did, I went to my boss on the Monday and I told them about all of the circumstances and conditions that was unfolding, because they didn't know I was divorced and I need a place to stay at, and all of the stuff that happened. And so they agreed to assist me to help me with my deposit payment should I get a place to stay at. I also asked my boss to take the day off on Friday, and I told him that I am going to look at viewing, or I'm going to go to viewings to places that is a possibility for me to live at. However, keep in mind that was not the truth. I just told him that because I knew that I need to take a step back and to prioritize myself and to get to a place where I can think and feel a little bit lighter about the situation and focus on what we all need to focus on, and that is to manifest, go to the end by knowing the end is already done. So I did take the day off on that Friday, and I prayed because I have a religion background. I grew up in a Christianity household, so prayer is very big for me, and I still use and approach prayer, but I just do it very differently from what I would used to. So I basically took the day off to prioritize myself and do a lot of love and self-care for myself. And while I was taking a bath, I made a prayer and say to God, to myself, my own awareness, my God state, and I said, thank you, God, for everything that is unfolding perfectly, and that the right people and the doors that will be open will bring me towards my end, and that is a place for me to stay. And I'm very grateful and thankful for this breach of events to happen, and I know that it's done, and help me to trust in having faith and having patience that everything is unfolding perfectly. In short, I did it a few times until I felt that it was good enough, and I went by my day. I decided I am not going to concern myself about the breach of incidents or the circumstances or the how or when everything is going to unfold, because it is not my place to do so. So my lady friend came home from her work, and she talked to me and told me that she spoke to two women that actually had a room available to rent. One of them was quite far away from where we are living and from my job, but we went to the place and we did a viewing. It was a lovely spacious room with their own bathroom, but it was in a house where I would have lived with 5 university students. And to be frankly honest, that was not ideal for me, because I am a working woman and I have kids, and I would have like more my own space that is not with younger people or students. But the area as well was not quite very in the area that I would want to live at, and also it would have given me challenges to get to my working place because I didn't have a vehicle. So transport would have been a very challenging situation for me. So we went to the viewing and we went to the second viewing, and on the way of the second viewing I developed to want to go to the ladies' room because I needed to, and I told my friend with making a joke about it, and I told her it would be very funny if I going to use this bathroom and I'm going to mark this place as mine. And we had a laugh about it, and she said, what if this happens? It would be very fucking funny. So we approached the place, we got to the estate, the gate opened, and the woman that was standing on the staircase she looked familiar, as if I knew her from somewhere. And as we started to talk, I've realized that my son and my son was friends with her, with his mother's, and she is her sister. So basically, we've met at a birthday gathering, and she was married at that point, and she's also divorced, and she needed a roommate very urgently, and she had a room available. So long story short, I got a place. I am living at this place at the moment, and while my finances from owing a lot of money to pay back my rent, my deposit to my boss, because he assisted me with the deposit, I am currently paying off all of my debt as well. And financially, according to logical reasoning, I'm not supposed to have finances left. But for some reason, as the time passed, and it's almost been 7 months already, my finances started to become more abundant and flowing, and I starting to get on my feet without struggle, because I am currently resonating as the being that is already abundant, and that everything in every direction, everything is working out exactly how it should, and my finances is escalating, and money flows to me so easy, and everything is just unfolding perfectly. I'm not going to lie, while I was experiencing all of these undesired conditions and circumstances, it was very difficult for shifting my mind to become this into this state of being financially abundant and having a safe place to stay at and all of that. But I must admit, if it was not for the breach of incidents, I would still have been stuck in stagnation of my current reality, being staying with my ex-husband in the same house, and probably everything would have escalated and becoming more worse, because I was stable and safe, and that kept me from what I actually wanted to experience in the end of the day. And remember, when you impress your subconscious mind with a desired state end goal, your breach of incidents is going to unfold. Either or, it's good or bad or indifferent, it doesn't matter. But whatever needs to happen is going to happen, so it can bring you closer to what your end desire is, or what you desire to experience. So I'm very grateful for the hardship and for the circumstances, conditions that was happening to me, because if it did not happen, I would not be here today sharing my story, hoping to help someone else that is experiencing exactly the same circumstance or condition or something similar. And I want to let you know that if I could do it, you can do it as well. I really believe that people give up so easy when circumstances, conditions is so in their face, and that is why they end up living on the street and never get out of it, because their state of consciousness or their state of being is giving up and not realizing that they are the cause of that reality that they are experiencing. And as they could experiencing living on the street, you can experience living in a place that is safe and your own home, and your you can experience that. But it is the choice that we need to make, to understand that we have the free will to choose and identify with the new story that we would like to experience. And even though everything was in my face and I did not have any movement or any signs or any indication of what I was doing is working. I just needed to keep on having that faith in myself, knowing that everything is unfolding no matter what, and that there is movement even though I couldn't see it, but also trusting and having the faith that it's done, and have the patience knowing that I don't need to concern myself about the time, because that if you are pressured for time, you cause more time and delays in your circumstances and conditions. So this is the raw. I don't want to gatekeep anything from you guys. I want to be unapologetic, honest. I want to be authentic. I want to give it to you as it is, without the fluff and this beautiful picture of everything was so fucking easy and wonderful, while it was not. But I still manifested my end goal regardless of my circumstances, conditions that was in my face. And remember, it was not my circumstances, conditions, but it was my state of being that was not in line with my end goal as yet, but I shifted into that new version of having a place to live at, and everything is working out for me. And it was not just the living circumstance that was in my face. I experienced a lot of other stuff while I was experiencing living on the street and struggling with a place to stay at. I had a very poor immune system. I got anxiety attacks. I got depressed. My skin condition was very horrible, and I had a specific person. I'm still on a specific journey with my special person that I very much love and adore, and want to experience that new reality with him. But because I had all of these circumstances and conditions piled up in one time frame, my reality had no other choice as to had a purge. And a purge is actually not really a purge. It's everything is you. It's part of your breach of incidents. Everything comes from you and through you and as you, because you are the god of your own reality. Everything started to snowball basically because I was not in my true identity, realizing that I am everything that I desire to become and want to become and to have. And what I desire is my birthright. I just need to remember what I was, and that is I am whatever I say after the I amness. But I didn't, because I couldn't identify with the new version of myself because of my circumstances. I was so captured about it. And today, thinking back, I'm so proud of myself experiencing all of this turmoil and the 3D circumstances and conditions that was undesired, because now I can actually tell you that I went through it and I am okay, I'm doing good, but also I can talk to someone else about it, and I can be an anchor and a motivation to another person that is probably experiencing the similar or same situation that I did. And that is it. It's the truth. If I could do it, you can do it. It is not always that it is simple. It's just not that always easy. But I just want you to know that nothing, no 3D circumstance or condition have power over you unless you resonate and give it power by assuming or give it meaning or condition it opposite of what you actually want to experience or desire to experience. All right, guys, there is more content coming up. where I'm going to talk about a lot of personal stuff that I actually manifested that was very undesired, and how I got out of it. And you can do the same. All right, guys, I love you. If you would like to, please like and subscribe to my channel so that we can get the content out there and let other people get the message and learn from my mistakes, because we all learn from each other. And yeah, and give me a comment, ask me some questions, let me know if you have the same or similar situation that happened to you, or tell me about your story. Maybe perhaps you already experienced something similar, and how did you get out to that identity and where you currently at. And let's help each other, because this is what it's all about. It's the community of one collective consciousness, where we all are connected with each other, and how we are not separated, and so that we can help each other to become more aware of who we are truly being, and that is our God states, and that we are all gods with free wills to choose. We are just living a human experience, remembering who we actually are. So that is it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful, lovely day.